might be saying,
Muscle
get
Waynesville
off,
is back,
yeah,
right?
get off of me.
Things are going hot.
We're live like thunder. No working.
No.
Give them everything. Library board.
Sharon Davenport is a current member of their library board, and they're just asking for the reappointment for them.
I'll move. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You have that. Workman comp, open working comp bids. This one, if you hold.
All right. We received 2 bids.
And I'm not riding up.
The big difference in the 2, the second one, the new company to bid it for Missouri Rural. It is a kind of like consortium, and their annual renewal generally runs April to April. And because we're not in that, what they did is they quoted us. The initial quote was for renewing in April next year. So that's why their bid for this year is a little bit lower. But if you break it down by month and you figure out what their annual cost would be, I believe that came up to $291,000 for a 12-month period. Because they're only bidding until April of next year. Their bid for
Is
this
that
one is
Missouri rural you're talking
that
about?
is Missouri Rural.
So it'd be 291.
Well, 219 for this year, and if we
19 get us to April
of next
of next
year,
year.
and then if we went with them for a full year, it'd be 291.
And then what they would do is then they would bid for a full 12-month period in April.
Yes.
So we would be changing our bid period, or we would be changing our effective date.
And the other one is 357,000. And do we know track history on Missouri Rural Services? Is it
They've been around since 1980. I did a little research on them, and I couldn't find, they're about like everybody. They have a few complaints, but they have no long history of problems.
failure to pay and stuff like that?
And that's what they focus on is, cities, counties, schools, ambulance districts, and fire districts.
Anybody else in Pulaski using them?
Not that I'm aware of. But they also do, they're also in a consortium, and so they would possibly quote our property and casualty insurance going into next year. That comes up for renewal in March.
$60,000 difference.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, 140 for the rest of this year. And then 60 next year, if that big stays the same. So,
Right. And then a lot of that is going to depend on, the bond. And, if our claims go up, then percentage would go up.
If you look at the rates, I mean, you're looking at 10.79 versus 8.29, 8.28 versus 5.31.
mhm.
And that rate, the rate could be because of, only quoting.
Oh,
9
okay,
months. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
But theirs would be 290,
Yeah, if you broke that down by a monthly fee,
it'd be 290.
it would total 291 and change, 291,785,
Versus
so almost
3.
290.
Versus 357.
So,
And then 60,000 sit somewhere else.
Mm.
Or each person was gonna save, each
it
department.
would say for each department, yes.
And your big department's gonna be road and bridge,
And the sheriff's office.
sure, that's your two biggest.
Yeah, if you turn to that next page there, Gene, you can kind of
Yeah.
see what the premium is.
Mm-hmm.
And then there again, you gotta look at it as a 9-month premium, so,
Yeah. When do we have to answer this by?
Monday.
We put it on Monday.
Vote on it.
Yeah. Put it on Monday.
Okay. Yeah, if you have any questions, let me know, because, both brokers are sitting out there ready to answer questions and keep the ball turning, so.
30,000, that's road and bridge.
Yeah. And so the other one contacts, they basically contract through another agency
Indian,
type thing.
yeah, Missouri Mutual.
Yeah, well, both of them are, like, MEM, Missouri Employers Mutual, they're handled by a local agent, which would be Bassett Insurance. The Missouri Rural is handled by the people who carry our, work, or our, property and casualty.
Okay.
So that's handled by, Higginbotham. The broker for that.
All right.
On this rack lane, I need to make a motion that we start it. I talked to Mr. Bowman about it, and their surveyor's coming back out. At the end of the road, there's a cul-de-sac. They're having water issues down there, and I don't know if it'll ever be a county problem. If it is a county problem now, if it was accepted. But I told him if that continues and they can't get that resolved, and it's gonna cause the county grief. The road's fine. It's a landowner's cut a ditch and it's blowing two neighbors out, and they're fighting over it, and they call in here once a week wanting it resolved. And I need to look and see where the survey marks. They're gonna go survey it and I'm gonna go look at it and see. And I just want to start it, and in a year I'm gonna either accept it or deny it.
Motion for that
Yeah.
or anything?
Yeah, what it'd be a motion to start the 1 year
Start.
Yeah.
maintenance period.
I'll make a motion, we start it.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I mean, 98% of it is fine. It's built, and they did what they're supposed to, but it's an issue that it could cause grief.
And she said they processed 61 yesterday.
They're starting to come in, probably, they've been coming in about 100 a day there for a little bit.
Oh, boy.
Oh,
So roughly
Did I
about
sign a
200,
denial letter for you?
another 200 applications for, the SB 190 senior tax credit.
I'll make a motion, we accept it.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Do you know roughly how many of this has been approved now?
Monday, she was about 12 or 1300. So
She's got about 1,300 applications. I'm gonna say approvals is gonna be in the 600 to 800 range.
And growing every day.
We've only had 6 denials in August.
Thank you.
I think it was 6 denials out of all of them so far.
they got a lot of work going through them, trying to keep them.
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh, it goes from
It's amazing.
all the way
I mean,
back there to Daniel and Terry to
Well,
back
then
here to
Rochelle's office,
Rochelle's
they've been
office.
making the copies of the deeds free.
Yep.
And she's had basically three girls every day making copies of deeds. So, I mean, it's a big undertaking by all the officials.
We got a bill set up.
Are you talking about Rochelle?
Yeah.
Yeah, and she has waived all the fees for doing that. So,
We sent we got together to send a bill to the state. We ought to charge the state.
I've asked both Dan and Terry to track, the additional expenses and the additional time that they're spending doing that. So we can put something together.
I said we try to get the money back.
I agree. Then do we need to vote on our sheriff's civil process? Are we ready to approve that or?
Yeah. We need to vote on
Tyler, are we ready?
SB. Approve it, we approve it.
Yeah,
We-
Kevin,
Oh, it's all right.
Yep.
you were all in favor.
The heat's getting to me, I think.
oh, I guarantee you that's right.
Just up, I was going to fold over. The Tyler Tech civil process. We've gone through it.
I'll motion to
I'll
approve it.
second it.
All in favor?
Can you get a copy of the contract? Then we can have Jeff review it, make sure there's nothing in it. I mean, it should be pretty well standard with what we're already utilizing, but just to be safe.
Mr. Thomas, do you have something? Huh?
I'll let you know when to go.
You have something for us? Nick?
Yeah, it's, who's discussed the special assessment for Woodridge to get Woodridge cable.
Oh, you're the one with the NIDS program?
Yes.
Come on up, Will. Dave, actually, I'm gonna throw him under the bus. He lives in a area that's got it currently. I mean, we'll explain the process to you about it. Yeah.
The highway. Okay.
Yeah, just past Sweetwater.
Yeah, to the right.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll let you down.
So last year, we kind of went through this, 2 years ago, with a neighborhood over in Dixon.
Okay.
Mr. Bassett was involved in that. And a gentleman down there got it started, held some public meetings and said, this is what we want to do. And there's two ways to get it.
There's two ways to do it. You can either do it by petition or you can do it by ballot.
But so this particular place over there, I'm just gonna round up, they had 20. It wasn't exactly 20, but we'll just say there was 20 property owners on this. And so what they did was you get a majority, 75% majority agreed, yes, we want to have this paved and we want to create this NID. And there was, 4 or 5 did not want it, but the majority won. And so then they contacted an attorney out of Kansas City. It drew everything up. And then, finally, it took about a year, this whole process. And then they came to the commission and then the NID was approved.
So the simplest thought process is probably a petition, just get a regular petition, go through my neighborhood.
Well, yeah, you know what you need to do is get through your neighborhood, get people together, have a meeting.
We already have a page on Facebook. That's why I know right now it is a majority. I don't know if it's 75% majority, but it is majority wanting that. It's just one of those, I have to get official signatures, so I would have to get a petition together and go around and get them.
If you want to give me your contact information, I'll kind of put together copies of what they did in Dixon.
Yes.
And then that way you can kind of see what process they went through, and that'll give you a guideline, some of the things you need to do and paperwork to submit.
And then Kevin can get Willard out there to give an estimate. And then that'll give you an idea of what
It's gonna cost and what it'll
Yeah, 'cause
be.
we tried this about 8 years ago, and the only option that you guys gave us was to get annexed. And none of us wanted that.
Annex.
I
In the
think,
St. Robert.
I think they tried
Oh,
to do the city.
they
Yeah,
tried
you
to
know,
do the
the
city.
city to do it, yeah.
But, and I don't, and like I said, I would be, the people in Dixon, was it 10 years? They're gonna have it paid off.
Yeah.
And
And here, so they did the maintenance, or they did the construction NID,
yes,
and then they also included a clause where they pay into a maintenance fund for future repairs and
That's, now, would that
resurfacing
be
and stuff
more
like that.
towards increasing our county taxes, or is that more HOA fee?
And
that would increase the county taxes
Okay.
because it would be
That-
based on.
I'd prefer
how
that
much
than
maintenance be
HOA.
done each year.
Yeah, because the county initially paid for, I think Dixon was 110,000 to have it paid. So the county paid for that, and then the NID that was created pays that back to the county.
Now, how does it work with the fact that half the neighborhood is paved? So we have the first road when you come in, that's paved, and then every steep road is paved, but nothing else is.
Well, it would just be like if you
So
were.
would the people on those paved sections be paying because they have to drive through
Well, you're gonna have
gravel?
maintenance down the road, so yes, they would.
Okay,
That way, you maintain those ones that go down the hill, they're gonna always have a road. Because if they don't, what's gonna happen is, these people up here, the main road's gonna be taken care of over time, after it's paved, have maintenance. But the people going down the hill, it's not in mid, they're on their own.
What about if them ones are steep and they're private?
Yeah, well, the
I
private,
don't think
they
that,
still have-
none of them are private.
When
They're,
you come around the first, I think the first, I'll have to look. I think there's one of them that is.
it might be the two houses in the back.
Yeah, I think there's one that's not, Dave will pull it up here real quick, but I think that's what he's going after.
But that would just be, I'm saying you're the one bringing it forward, so
Yes.
but that would just be.
Little
up to
legwork.
you. That would be up to you to come in with with the final NID and say, this is what we want included. This is what we want paved, or you may even just say, we want repaved all the way back. That it would be up to you to say, this is what we want. This is the money that, Kevin can give you to say, okay, let's say it's 150,000 to do what you want to do. And then you would create the NID to pay that 150,000 back plus 3% interest or 4% interest or
So
what.
my first step
you know.
is get the petition.
Yep.
and when you talk to people, the ones that's already have the blacktop going down the hill, you might explain to them, this also will be a maintenance with it down the road, so it will always take care of it.
Yes.
If they don't, if they're saying, no, mine's paved, I don't wanna be involved in it. you gotta
That's
convince
kind
them.
of where my headache was going. Like, we have people who are already
Well, your
paved.
pitch to them is, it would maintain that.
Okay.
Because the way it is now, once it falls apart, they're on their own.
And I can just go online and grab a simple petition, right? Like, that's,
Yeah, I would. Well, like I said, if you give Dave your contact
Yeah, I'll get you
information.
because you'll want all
The
the
verbiage.
verbiage up at
Okay.
the top to be a
Yeah.
particular form, so that's.
And how does one of these programs work if, like, if they look, do they look at it every year, and if it needs something, they fix it, if
What
it's
they
got the
do
maintenance
is-
part
is
on it?
We call them the mayors over there, the people, they formed a little like a board, kind of, two or three groups.
Kind of like what we have.
Hunters Point's had this.
Yeah, the
longest.
1993, that's the one I've been.
And they have two or three
going on
people that talk, and then and he rides with them, and Willard rides with them, and they make a decision every year what they're gonna fix on the maintenance side.
And if they don't have to fix
They
nothing,
don't,
does that just,
it rolls it back if you don't spend it.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
so the NID over in Hunters Point brings in roughly 120,000 a year.
What's the main street out
Target.
there?
So, and if we go out there and we determine that only 60,000 needs to be spent this year, then their taxes would be rolled back on that NID for a year. But if, like I said, the people feel like, well, we need to spend the whole 120,000 because this road or that road, then their NID stays the same.
That
And
makes
so, and what you might want to look at too is, the NID in Hunters Point is only for maintenance of the road. And so if there is a culvert that needs to be replaced or something like that, that is not covered in the NID.
Okay.
And so, you know, it just depends on how the NID is written up. And so, and putting a shoulder on the road is not covered in the NID.
We have to be specific on what,
Yes,
what we want,
what you,
how we can
You
get the
better
water
put the
drainage,
specifics
how
in there.
we
Yeah.
can make this actually right to get the right maintenance.
yes,
yes, sir.
because that's kind of the, where we're running into in a couple of the roads out there on Hunters Point is if you keep adding 2 inches on top of them, then all of a sudden they start, you know,
Yeah.
and
You pull in a driveway.
yeah, but, you know, that's,
I think there's a couple of short little spurs out there.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
a
no,
couple short
Twig,
ones,
Tanglewood, I think is another one. There's one right next to my house that I can never remember the name of. They're all T's. They're all T's.
yeah. T road.
I've walked every inch of my neighborhood and I can never remember the names.
That's wonderful. Oh.
I can't think of the gentleman in Dixon, Jones, wasn't his last name?
Gerald Jones.
Gerald Jones.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could reach out
I
to Gerald.
know him.
You know Gerald Jones?
Wait,
Hey, man.
how old
Yeah,
is he?
He's
probably
75.
Okay, no, I don't know him.
Okay.
I'm like, I know a different Daryl Jones.
Yeah.
I'm like, my army days, they moved back over here.
Real deep voice.
Nah, but
He's-
the guy I know is like 30.
If you could,
Gerald's on
Well, if
Facebook.
you need, I can call Gerald and see if I can give your number to him.
Okay.
so Gerald did all the footwork for that NID over in Dixon and did. He
Dude,
put-
I've
he
been
put-
doing most of the work in my
Yeah.
neighborhood. I'm the one that made the sign. I'm the one that's fixing the mailboxes. I'm kind of in charge of the groups. I'm trying to get things done. I've been opposed to having it paved, but this last rainstorm made it very obvious that it's needed.
On the right TV.
Smart.
It's hit or miss, isn't it?
I can't remember which one was which.
You can look at the name on them. Under settings, you can look at there you go.
There it is. Trying
I got all I got is real cool.
their trestle.
Yeah, Tapestry's fully
Trellis.
laying.
Anything in black should be private.
I don't even know where Trellis is.
It's actually an undeveloped road. There you go, Trio.
That's Trio.
Analogy.
Hold on, Trio's not a real road.
Camera too.
Yeah.
That's just empty
That
land.
was my trip. See you next fall.
So 137 is my house. Trail Lane is not a real road. That is just grass.
Okay, yeah, it's platted, but nobody has ever
Okay.
finished the road or built off it.
That's why it's an empty
That
plot.
gives it access to that lot back here.
Right.
We didn't even have 139 as plat. That was just woods. So Twig is already
So, you
paved.
know, like on that, a lot of those roads that, Finland Circle is not part of it.
So with those being private, they wouldn't be able to get into the NID or,
Well, since they're not developed, they probably wouldn't. I would say they would quote the cost of developing them. You know, because what it's gonna do is it's gonna raise the cost of doing the project and like on Trio, there's only one person going, yeah, on that, there's only one person going to benefit from that. That would be whoever owns lot 139.
that's 100.
So, and then Built-in Lane, you know, there's 4, 5, 6 possible lots there, so that one has potential, but then that's up to landowners and the county commission as to whether or not they want to complete it out and go ahead and build. Huh?
Is Eugene Tilden on them?
Those 3 lots are all owned by the same person. And Jerry Powers.
Yeah, Powers owns a lot of the land behind the back.
Said they hunt back then?
Behind a lot. Yeah, that's why I'm surprised like how far Tokens goes. It stops early.
So, yeah, those are the main ones.
We hear rifles all the time.
Yeah, Trellis Lane.
They just shoot down.
Trio, Twig.
So Twig is really the only real
Those are the
road.
ones that aren't developed.
So Twig would be the only real road of those private ones. All the other ones are just grass. That I thought was an empty plot. I didn't realize was a road. So would I ignore the 4 houses on Twig and not get signatures from them?
I mean, you could approach them to see if they want to be involved in it for maintenance purposes, but yeah.
It would probably be best to include them because, you know, they would be